Let's get into it.
God's a homie.
Let's get into it. Dr. Paul tinkered with an array of vials and medical equipment as quietly as he could. In a corner across the room, Dr. Michael Graves slept quietly, a lab coat thrown over himself as a crude blanket. The lab wasn't a large room, but it had become the two doctors' home over the past few months. With the disease that had taken a chokehold over the world, times had become worse than desperate. The future of humanity was bleak. But Graves and Dr. Paul had not given up. Even against all of the trauma of watching people they love fall to the sickness and turn into monsters, they persevered. After some time, Graves stirred. He slowly woke up, sitting himself up against the wall. He didn't make it known right away that he was awake. Instead, he watched silently as Dr. Paul engrossed himself into his work. The two had been trying to find a potential cure for so long. With no breakthroughs, though, the two had grown tired. But it was the quiet moments like these that gave Graves the strength to continue. Watching his close friend and colleague of many years being so dedicated towards his goal, Graves would have given up a long time ago if not for Dr. Paul. About 20 minutes had passed before Graves silently stood and walked over. The clicking of his shoes should have been noticeable, but Dr. Paul was too engrossed in his work. Graves lay his hand gently on his back, causing the older man to jump slightly. The two locked eyes. Michael couldn't help but to smile.
Good morning.
Graves spoke in his smooth British accent. Did I
Oh,
not
you didn't
highlight?
highlight that.
My bad.
Still working hard, I see.
Uh, good morning, Graves. How was your sleep?
Dr. Paul returned the smile, pausing from his work to look up to Michael.
It was adequate. Your lab coat helped me keep warm.
Graves held up the coat, holding it out to help Dr. Paul into it.
Oh, good. I'm glad to hear it.
The older doctor responded as Graves dressed him.
We should try to find you something else other than your suit to wear. I can't imagine that does an awfully good job at keeping you warm.
Oh, that's quite all right. I'm rather comfortable in this attire.
Graves smoothed the lab coat out, letting his touch linger before taking a step back.
All right, then. I'm certainly not complaining. Yeah.
Dr. Paul mumbled as he went back to his work. Graves joined him, and the two worked alongside each other for the next few hours. It was business as usual. Different tests, same results. It seemed like there was no way to beat this virus. The woke mind virus. At first, it seemed like this disease was just a regular seasonal flu. The symptoms started off with headaches, loss of vision, vomiting came soon after if you didn't seek treatment, then shitting blood. And after that, death. For a while, humanity kept the disease at bay. The symptoms were treatable at least, despite no cure being available. People around the world began panicking when it became apparent no vaccines seemed to be effective in completely removing the virus. But what came after death is what people really needed to be scared of. The first person who died as a result of the sickness had donated their body to science. A numerous amount of doctors and medical staff tinkered away trying to find a cure. And they thought they did. A vaccine was tested and distributed to a small group of volunteers. It showed promising results. The world felt hope. That is, until the cadaver was found standing again by a doctor. The virus had brought back the dead, alive again, hungry, angry. The doctor that found him didn't live to warn the others. That hospital became ground zero, and the rest of the world shortly followed in its demise as the vaccines that were hoped to be the answer only amplified the transformation process. Dr. Paul and Michael Graves were lucky. They had both been attending an off-site therapy session with a patient when the chaos struck. An uncontrollable panic spread across the city. Some say the panic ended more lives than the virus did. The two had stuck together through it all and were dedicated in trying to find a way to end it. Even amongst all of their failed attempts, they devoted any time they could into trying to find an answer. Together. Just as the two were finishing up their work, the room suddenly went dark. Only a faint blue light from outside in the hallway broke through the small glass window on the door. It was just about impossible to see anything.
Graves?
Dr. Paul shouted out, feeling his heart pounding.
Don't move, Paul. I'll come to you.
Graves responded as he carefully worked his way around the table until eventually he felt Dr. Paul beside him.
The generator must have stopped working.
He mumbled as he placed his two hands on Paul's shoulders from behind.
What do we do, Graves? I thought you said we had more time. This isn't enough time, Graves.
Shush, it'll be all right, Paul. I'll go down and see if I can figure out what's going on, and pop right back up. I'll be back before you know it. You just need to stay here and avoid knocking over everything in a panic, all right?
Oh, Graves, I don't know. I don't know.
Relax. I'll be back before you know it.
Graves slowly shimmied past Dr. Paul, sliding his hand across the small of his back as he moved past him. He found the door. And just as his hand grasped the handle, he felt a tug on his suit. Instinctively, he looked behind him, despite not being able to see anything anyway.
I don't have a good feeling about this, Graves. I'm coming with you.
Dr. Paul tightened his grip on Michael's jacket. All Graves could see was darkness, but he could vividly imagine Paul's face. A face of determination, with caring eyes. Graves wanted nothing more than to leave Paul locked away in this room to keep him safe. But he knew that wasn't going to happen.
All right.
Graves responded quietly.
You'll have to keep up with me, though.
He opened the door, squinting his eyes until it adjusted to the low light. The two walked into the hallway. Neither of them acknowledged the fear that slowly crept into them. They hadn't had an encounter for quite some time, and with everything considered, had been incredibly lucky up to this point. Walking into the unknown was horrifying, though. They had no clue what lay ahead. At least they had each other. The normally chatty Dr. Paul walked silently alongside Graves. He winced at each sound the landing of his cane made on the ground. While this floor hadn't seemed to become overrun with Wokies, that's what I called the zombies in this universe.
Crazy.
That knowledge didn't do much to relieve his anxiety. Graves noticed this and placed a hand on his shoulder.
It'll be all right, Paul. The generator isn't much further. Hopefully we can get it working again. Grab something to eat and engross ourselves in work again. I read that wrong.
Yes. I am starving. What are you thinking of eating?
I think fish and chips sound swell right about now. An afternoon tea.
Because he's British.
That's racist, okay.
Graves looked at Dr. Paul and smiled.
Maybe grab a sweet treat for later.
Maybe some prunes. I love prunes.
Yes, we can grab some prunes.
Sounds like a plan.
Paul took comfort in the fake reality the two had created. Of course, there would be no fish and chips, no prunes, but maybe one day there would be a time they can enjoy this meal together without the undertone of death looming at their feet. That's the future Dr. Paul was fighting so hard to achieve. The two rounded a corner and suddenly Graves paused. He looked ahead, noticing a door to the right ajar. He had walked this path many times and could swear to himself he had never noticed this door unclosed before. Maybe he was just being too cautious since Dr. Paul was with him, paranoid. He stood trying to listen for anything that may be out of place. The only thing he could hear, though, was the sound of Dr. Paul's breath. He looked down to the older doctor's face. so pale and fragile looking, like a white lily plucked from the ground, slowly wilting away, still managing to contain its beauty through each phase.
Is everything okay, Graves?
Dr. Paul asked, looking up and meeting Michael's eyes. It was too dark for Paul to notice the flush of color cross Graves' face. His heart fluttered, though. Maybe it knew something that Paul didn't.
Yes, everything's quite all right. Let's continue.
Graves said, putting on a brave face and moving forward. The two walked silently onwards. Nothing else seemed to be out of place that Graves could notice. Perhaps he was being paranoid. Hell, maybe he was even the one who left the door open in the first place. They were almost there now. Graves would have a look at the generator, fix whatever the issue seemed to be, and the two would be back in their room in no time. As Graves rounded the last corner they would need to take to find the generator room, he stopped dead in his tracks, flinging his arm out in front of Dr. Paul to stop him from moving any further. Dr. Paul didn't say a word. He just slowly turned to look up to the face of Graves. His expression was pale. His breaths quickened. Eventually, Paul turned to look to see what Graves had stopped him for, even though he already knew in his heart why. In front of them stood a horde of Wokies. The door to the generator was being propped open by one of their bodies. The smell of burning flesh filled the air. They must have been attracted to the noise. Graves took a small step back, attempting to silently back away from the monsters. Paul tried to do the same, but his older age betrayed him. He lost balance, letting out a noise of panic before he caught himself. When he looked back, the glowing eyes of all the Wokies were staring back at him.
Time to go.
Graves said as he turned on his heels and scooped up Paul with one arm. The surge of adrenaline let him carry Paul with ease as he hauled ass towards the first door he could see. He pulled it open and threw the two of them inside, pulling the door closed behind him. The loud sounds of Wokey screeches and pounding on the door filled the air. That's not grammatically correct. Graves laid against a shelf, panting as he stared towards the door. The different cleaning equipment and supplies contorted his body into an unnatural shape. Paul lay on top of his chest, still in shock at what just transpired. Graves was still holding Paul, his arms wrapped around his waist. Slowly, when it became apparent that the Wokies wouldn't immediately bust down the door, Paul pushed himself up, meeting eyes with Graves. Michael Graves was usually a stoic, calm man, but all he could see was fear in his face now.
Graves.
Dr. Paul started, but at the sound of his voice, Graves seemed to jump out of whatever fear state he was locked into.
Oh, sorry.
Graves quickly said as he helped Dr. Paul off of him.
Sorry about that.
No, I probably would have been too slow to make it here by myself. Thank you, Graves.
The two didn't have much space to themselves. The closet room to the closet room happened to be a storage closet of sorts. The room was dark and cramped. The blue from the outside emergency lights barely illuminated the space through a small window above the door. It was impossible to sit without touching one another. Not that either necessarily minded this. They had grown very used to each other's company after all this time. The steady sound of groaning, pounding, and scratching at the door eventually faded slightly with time, but the two knew better than to assume any sort of safety. Both of them had the understanding that they would be stuck here for quite a while if they wanted to leave quietly without a fight that would surely end up in one of their deaths.
God damn it.
Graves finally muttered, breaking the hour-long silence between them.
Graves?
I knew I shouldn't have brought you with me. I should have left you in the room, locked you in there if I needed to.
Dr. Paul looked down to the ground. Shame crept in.
I'm sorry, Graves. This is all my fault. I'm an old bird, and I knew I would probably only get in the way if anything happened. I guess I just got comfortable.
This isn't your fault, Paul. It's mine. And now if something happens to you,
Graves briefly paused as he felt himself becoming choked up.
I can only blame myself.
Michael.
Dr. Paul spoke softly.
I never married Paul. All my life I had such high ambitions, and that part of my life just never seemed to fit into what I wanted to achieve. I never cared much either. I wasn't hard finding a woman who liked my face and money enough to spend the night with. But then,
Graves cut himself off, grabbing his hair.
Then what, Michael?
Dr. Paul already felt like he knew the answer, but he needed to hear it directly from Graves himself.
then I met you. At first I thought you were just some old fool. Then I fell in love with your work ethic. I fell in love with how you treated patients. I started becoming defensive over others criticizing your work. I woke up looking forward to seeing you. I went to bed with your face on my mind. And when the whole world went to shit, I didn't care about anything, about trying to save it, trying to find a cure. As long as you were by my side, that's all that mattered to me. That's all that's ever mattered to me these past few years I've known you.
There was a long moment of silence between them. Neither said anything. Dr. Paul shifted from where he sat, his foot rubbing against Graves.
You know,
Dr. Paul started.
I never thought I would find love again after my wife died.
He said he would have freaked character.
Ahem. I never thought I would find love again after my wife died. I was so traumatized after she fell from the Eiffel Tower. The world felt like it was ending. But I made it past the heartache. That's what inspired me to be a therapist, you know. I wanted to help others who suffered the same hurt I did. I engrossed myself in my work as a way to feel good and distract myself. I feel like I aged myself so much in those years. Then you started working here, Graves. Tall, handsome, British. I thought, man, how long until this guy is caught banging one of the nurses in a cleaning closet? I never thought it would be me getting caught in the closet with you.
Dr. Paul nudged his foot against Graves again.
After knowing you for all this time, I guess it makes me rather lucky.
Michael could feel his heart pounding in his throat. He felt like he understood, but he needed to be sure. He was tired of skirting around his feelings. Death was waiting for them outside the door, and once it caught up, there wouldn't be another chance.
Paul, I.
You know,
Dr. Paul cut off Graves.
I wanted to save this for your birthday, but I
Oh
suppose
no.
now is a good time.
Paul reached into his coat and pulled out a carton of cigarettes with a lighter.
Oh,
He
thank
reached
God.
out, feeling Michael's body in the dark until he eventually found his hand. He grabbed it and placed the gift into his hand.
Happy early birthday, Michael.
Graves smiled, immediately knowing what it was he held, despite not being able to see it clearly.
Thank you, Paul.
He tore the plastic off the carton, flicking open the box and popping a cigarette into his mouth. He lit it, and in the dark, Dr. Paul could see Michael's intense eyes looking towards him. Without saying anything, Michael shifted himself in front of Paul. The two's legs intertwined with each other, and Graves placed a hand on Paul's calf.
Share this cigarette with me, Paul.
Dr. Paul could feel his face beginning to flush.
All right. Yeah, it's hard to see though.
Don't worry, Paul, I've got you.
Michael flicked on the lighter, leaning close to Paul. The flame illuminated a dancing light on both their faces. He brought the cigarette from his own mouth to Paul's lips and held it there for him. Paul took a deep inhale before quickly turning his head and exhaling. He couldn't hold the smoke in his lungs like others due to his asthma, but he still enjoyed the rush of the nicotine. After Paul was done, Michael brought the cigarette back to himself and inhaled deeply. He held it there, keeping the lighter lit to make sure Paul could see his eyes looking into his. After a few moments, he slowly turned his head, making sure his eyes stayed locked onto Paul, and exhaled.
I hope you like your gift.
Dr. Paul said, tilting his head with a smile.
Well, it's not the usual brand I go for, but Paul, you could probably give me trash off the street and I would still enjoy it.
Oh, are you a big fan of garbage?
I'm a big fan of you.
Dr. Paul looked down, working up the courage to say what he wanted to say next. What he's wanted to say for a long time.
Oh my god.
Oh.
Why don't you show me how big of a fan you are?
Okay. Okay.
Michael said slyly, leaning closer slowly. He just stopped before his lips connected with Paul's. He could feel his breath on his face.
Just tell me when to stop.
The light was extinguished as Graves placed it on the ground alongside his cigarette. Graves slowly brought a hand up, cupping Paul's cheek gingerly.
I'm not sure I'll want to, Graves.
Paul responded sheepishly. Michael Graves wasted no more time. He connected the space between their lips, pulling Paul into a deep kiss. A kiss had never felt more right. It shouldn't feel so good with all the impending doom that surrounded them, but it was like connecting the last missing piece of a puzzle. There was no doubt anymore. The picture was crystal clear. Paul leaned into the kiss, reaching for and grabbing Michael's coat. The two wordlessly helped Paul slide on top of Graves. He sat in his lap, his legs wrapped around Michael's back. Each passing second, their lips stayed connected. They could feel the roaring fire of passion grow and grow within them. Eventually, Paul pulled back. Though they couldn't clearly see each other's faces, they both imagined perfectly what the other was saying through their eyes.
Michael, we've wasted enough time already. I'm not gonna waste any more.
I am your sheep and you are my shepherd, Paul. Command me what to do and I will do it.
Me, Michael. I want you to do me.
As you wish.
The two wasted no time in removing each other's clothing. The once chilly closet became humid and warm quickly. The groaning and sounds from the wokies outside were masked by their own sounds of pleasure. They didn't stop until neither one had the strength to continue. An unmeasurable amount of time had passed. That means they fucked for a long time, chat. They smashed hard. An unmeasurable amount of time had passed. The two lay on the floor with one another, holding each other closely. The touch of their bare skin against each other restored parts of their soul and humanity they thought previously had withered away. Neither realized how much they yearned for this moment.
You know,
Graves said as he twirled Paul's hair in between his fingers.
I have a present for you as well, I was saying.
Oh, what were you saving it for?
This moment, I suppose.
Graves fumbled around in the dark until he found his jacket, reaching deep into a pocket and pulling out the gift. He grabbed Paul's hand gingerly.
I know you have loved your wife dearly. I'm not looking to replace her. But if you would ever consider sharing part of your heart with me as well, I promise to take care of it until we reach our bitter end.
Michael, I would love nothing more than to spend the rest of whatever time we have left together.
Graves smiled, leaning in and kissing Paul gently before sliding the ring over his finger.
Are you taking my last name?
Call me Dr. Paul Graves. We'll have to find someone to appreciate. How many people do you think we should invite to the wedding? Yeah, personally, I think we keep it small. Big weddings are fucking overrated.
Graves chuckled.
I am a sheep. I'm your sheep, shepherd Graves. Whatever you wish me to do, I will follow your lead.
Graves laid his head on Paul's chest.
I love you, Paul. I think I've loved you for longer than I've known.
I love you too, Michael.
The two held each other, managing to fall asleep in a close embrace. Their future was uncertain. Would they ever make it out of this hospital, which had become a death trap, much less this closet? Would they ever find a cure? Neither of them knew the answer. Now that they had each other, though, they weren't so scared. They felt complete together. That's it.
Wow,
Wow.
That's it.
That was an unexpected ending.
that was certainly something, man. That was cinema.
Cinema.